from Midland, Odessa, and Big Spring, this is ABC Big 2 News at 11:30.
Breaking news now at 11:30. We are still following that deadly crash in Andrews where DPS says 6 students and a coach were killed. DPS says the 17-seat van caught fire after a truck hit it head-on. ABC Big 2's Tatiana Battle has been at the scene all morning and joins us now live. Tatiana, you have new details about the tragic crash.
Guys, right now we are surveying what happened overnight, the deadly crash with golf team members from the University of the Southwest. A Dodge pickup truck went into the opposite lane, hitting a van carrying the golf team members of the University of the Southwest, and both vehicles caught on fire. Now, DPS can confirm that 6 students and the head coach were killed in that crash. Both the passenger and driver of the vehicle were killed as well. Now, according to DPS, there were several injuries, and there are 2 now life-flighted to Lubbock, 2 students that were part of that crash. And we are going to have a live look right now. They have since picked up the remaining parts of the vehicle. That anything left, tow trucks have come, and I'll tell you this, guys, investigators have been on the scene for more than 12 hours just trying to put together any details that they have of this crash. And like I said, the tow trucks have since picked up the remaining parts of the burned vehicles, and so far we don't know the identity of all of the victims, and this is an ongoing investigation. Reporting live in Andrews, Tatiana Battle, ABC Big 2 News.
All right, thank you, Tatiana. Schools from around the basin are reacting to the tragic news. Midland College President Dr. Steve Thomas said in a statement, in part, quote, "Words cannot express how deeply hurt we feel for their loss." Odessa College also sharing its sentiment, offering its condolences to those involved and their families. The university is saying this morning that there are resources available to students who need them. The school took to Facebook to say counseling staff and the worship team will be available for any students or families in need. USW is asking you to pray for all of those involved. Now you can stay tuned right here to ABC Big 2 News as we continue following this story on air and online at yourbasin.com.
Developing now on ABC Big 2 News.
Also developing this morning on Capitol Hill, Ukrainian President Zelensky giving a rare virtual address to Congress, asking the U.S. for more aid in his nation's war with Russia. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze has the latest from Washington.
With his nation under relentless fire from Russia, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky making an impassioned plea to the U.S. for more help.
I'm addressing the President Biden. You are the leader of the nation. I wish you to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace.
In a rare virtual address to Congress, Zelensky pleading with the U.S. to put in place a no-fly zone over Ukraine. President Biden is all but certain to once again reject that request, fearing it could bring U.S. troops into a direct fight with the Russian military. Instead, Biden is expected to detail how the U.S. will provide $800 million in new military aid to Ukraine, including anti-aircraft and anti-tank missiles. It's part of a more than $13 billion package of military and humanitarian aid for Ukraine the president signed into law Tuesday.
We're going to be able to quickly ramp up our response and help alleviate the suffering that Putin's war is causing.
The war's toll mounting by the hour. Russian missiles leveling a residential neighborhood in the eastern city of Kharkiv. Bombardments intensifying in the capital city, Kyiv. The UN now says more than 3 million refugees have fled Ukraine since the war began. A source tells ABC News that number could double in the next week.
The most important thing is that we've proved Putin wrong. The Ukrainians, because they fight so courageously, and we as the Western world, because we stand united.
A source tells ABC News morale is low among Russian troops. Today, a 4th round of peace talks between Russian and Ukrainian officials is in its 3rd day. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
And now your forecast first on ABC Big 2 News.
Time now to send it over to our meteorologist, Ryan DePhillips, for a check on the forecast. Ryan, warm and windy, right?
Yeah, warm and windy conditions, and the National Weather Service has issued some alerts here in the basin. A fire weather watch in effect till 8 p.m. local time. It does include Ector and Midland County. So whenever we have dry soil conditions combined with gusty winds, that's how it can get fire potential. That's something we have to deal with a little bit today, but much more so tomorrow. And speaking of those winds, a high wind watch in effect for the Guadalupe Mountains and parts of Culberson and Eddy County in effect till once again 8 p.m. local time tomorrow. Those temperatures started pretty chilly this morning, but warming up in the 60s and 70s already, right around 70 degrees with ample sunshine for your noon hour. But those temperatures will be warming up in the 80s later today with a little bit more in the way of clouds and the increase, maybe even some lower 90s. But then I'll be talking about much cooler weather later in the week. Back to you.
Thanks, Ryan. Now to the coronavirus and Pfizer's petition to the FDA for a second booster shot for older Americans. This comes as we see potential warning signs of a new rise in COVID infections. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
Pfizer is calling for a fourth COVID shot in people 65 and older, saying it dramatically improves protection. The drug maker requesting emergency use authorization from the FDA, which will look at data to determine if and when the additional shot is needed.
I'm a big proponent of second boosters or fourth shots. If you still want to protect against infection and long COVID, I think, we may need that booster.
58 million Americans who are eligible to receive the vaccine still have yet to get their first dose. This as concerns grow about another potential wave of COVID. The CDC reporting more than 1/3 of its wastewater sampling sites have seen a spike in the virus in the last 2 weeks.
What we know is that wastewater data tends to precede infection case identification that we tend to see when people go get tested. And we are seeing an increase in wastewater data.
Health officials keeping a close eye on a subvariant of Omicron, BA2, which appears to be 30% more transmissible than Omicron and makes up for nearly a quarter of new cases in the U.S. While the percentage of BA2 cases are up, the total number of new COVID cases in the country is down. Most of the country easing restrictions.
I don't think we're lifting them too soon, but I think that if people are taking that as a sign that the pandemic is over, they are going to be sorely disappointed. This pandemic continues, and it's critical we pay attention to public health guidance.
And the pandemic still taking its toll on the U.S. economy. Women left the workforce early on in the pandemic at greater rates than men, and they have been more reluctant to return. Last month, there were still nearly 1.5 million fewer employed women compared to 500,000 fewer men. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Now, these new warnings come as the CDC has changed its cruise alert notice status from warning level 3 to alert level 2. Both levels encourage passengers to be vaccinated, and level 2 instructs travelers who are unvaccinated to avoid non-essential trips. Travelers should frequently check their cruise ship's color code and vaccination status for possible changes, and masks may be required on board some ships.
Developing now on ABC Big 2 News.
Now to more reports of fuel stolen right out of people's vehicles, often caught on surveillance cameras. ABC's Trevor Alt has more.
It's become an alarmingly common phenomenon. People paying astronomical gas prices only to have that gas stolen. A Pennsylvania woman found this hole drilled directly into her gas tank, her security camera capturing the man she believes is the culprit walking around her car with a drill and a 5-gallon bucket. The woman then driving the car without realizing what happened, a mistake that could have killed her.
The big risk would be that the thing's leaking fuel and you get a fire.
In the past few weeks, gas thefts have been reported in at least 10 states. In Missouri, John Blazer says the man in this video strolled up to his truck, stole 2 gallons of gas, and let the remaining 32 gallons flush out onto the street. And more brazen thieves are targeting gas stations. Last week, police in Los Angeles surrounding 3 vehicles allegedly stealing gas. One suspect accused of paying just $20 but damaging the pump to take far more gas than that. And authorities near Houston are searching for suspects they say stole $8,000 worth of diesel fuel from this Chevron. This just a week after alleged thieves stole about 1,000 gallons from the underground tanks at a different Houston station.
the van that's pumping the fuel out, they have a trap door inside their vehicle, which is crazy.
Now from gas thieves to a gas leak here locally, we have an update to a story we've been following here on ABC Big 2 News. Students at Midland College are back in their dorms after the school reported a gas leak yesterday afternoon. It happened on the north side of the main campus and has since been fixed. Students were on edge, unable to get to classes.
I was not in that building. I was just casually about to go in that building because I had a chemistry class in there, but I was kicked out by police.
MC says its students are now back on campus safely, and there's no word yet on what caused the gas leak. While changing the time on your microwave twice a year could soon be a thing of the past, lawmakers are now coming together trying to make daylight saving time permanent. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has more.
This morning, the U.S. is one step closer to making daylight saving time permanent.
Pardon the pun, but this is an idea whose time has come.
In a rare show of bipartisanship, the Senate giving unanimous consent to the Sunshine Protection Act.
We can get this passed. We don't have to keep doing this stupidity anymore.
The bill would end the practice of turning clocks back 1 hour to standard time each November. A recent poll shows 63% of Americans support eliminating the seasonal time change. Senators took turns Tuesday bashing the annual practice of falling back.
We have sunset in Rhode Island at 4:15. 4:15.
Any parent who has worked so hard to get a newborn or a toddler on a regular sleeping schedule understands the absolute chaos changing our clocks creates, and for no good reason.
Some cheering when the bill passed with no objection.
Yes.
But the bill still needs approval from the House. An aide for House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer says meetings on the issue have been positive and says we are looking at the Senate-passed bill closely. It wouldn't be the first time the U.S. has adopted daylight saving time for the entire year. We tried it back in 1974, but the change only lasted less than a year after outrage from parents who didn't want to send their kids to school in the dark. And there are mixed opinions from scientists. Some argue permanent daylight saving time would make us more productive, but others say darker evenings and brighter mornings are better for our sleep habits and our health. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
Temperatures are rising, and as that happens, so will those winds. Those winds will gust to 30 to 40 miles per hour today from the southerly direction, but switching more from the northerly and westerly direction tomorrow, ushering potentially much cooler weather in the basin.
This is an ABC Big 2 breaking news alert.
And stay with us here on ABC Big 2 News at 11:30 as we follow that deadly crash in Andrews where DPS says 6 students and a coach at the University of the Southwest were killed. We'll have more after the break.
Watch Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Beck from Westex on Good Morning Basin.
Find amazing deals store-wide during the wall-to-wall sale at Furniture Row. Every sofa, dining table, and bed is on sale, plus 4 years no interest. Shop today and save during the wall-to-wall sale only at Furniture Row.
Initial measurement is complete.
Begin go, no-go terminal count.
Sys 1, go.
Sys 2.
Go.
Call the launch. We're missing supplies.
Ma'am, there's a vehicle approaching the launch pad.
Right on time. Order for George? Thanks, partner. We can't orbit on an empty stomach.
There's no unwanted children, only unfound homes. And so we firmly believe that there is a home for every child that's in the foster care system.
There is hope in their lives, and we want to make sure that we're that shining star for them.
Get involved because children are our greatest commodity. They are our future.
Get involved and be a beacon of hope and healing for children and families.
We need you. We need families to take in children.
Visit getinvolvedpb.org.
You test positive for the COVID-19 virus or have had direct exposure. Now what? At ProSource Hydration, our COVID cocktail, filled with high levels of vitamin C and zinc, attacks the COVID virus, helping the body prevent the replication of the virus, reducing symptoms, and helping them dissipate faster. It can even help prevent the virus from forming after exposure. Best results seen within 4 days of symptoms. Call ProSource today to schedule your COVID cocktail.
What makes Best Reviews the best reviews?
Milk?
They have an unbiased team that researches products in real-world situations to give reliable recommendations on pretty much everything. So you can be confident that whatever you're buying is right for you, no matter what life throws at it. Like your daughter Clementine, for example. For the best reviews, go to bestreviews.com. Seriously, before you buy anything, ever.
Introducing the Doctor's Choice Hybrid with the cooling full-body comfort of gel memory foam and individually wrapped coils featuring Boss technology. Choose from the luxury firm, Plush, and Eurotop. The Doctor's Choice Hybrid, exclusively at Denver Mattress.
Weekdays at 5, 6, and 10 p.m. with Chief Meteorologist Chase Menendez. This is an ABC Big 2 breaking news alert.
Breaking news, we are still following this morning of the deadly crash in Andrews where DPS says 6 students and a coach were killed. The 17-seat van the team was traveling in caught fire after a truck hit it head on. You can stay with ABC Big 2 News as we continue to learn more on this incident.
And now your local weather authority forecast.
We have some clouds on the increase after a chilly morning, temperatures warming up in the 70s and 80s this afternoon. A live look at Odessa. We have a lot of blue skies out there, but on the other side of the screen, we do see very high clouds on the increase from the south and west. So taking a look at the bigger picture, we do notice that, again, we have clouds on the increase moving into the basin, but certainly not producing any precipitation because they're very thin and very high in nature in the atmosphere. But these clouds will bring in gustier winds and the potential for blowing dust. So the National Weather Service has issued a fire weather watch in effect till 8 p.m. local time tomorrow for much of the basin, including Ector and Midland County, because of the dry soil conditions combined with the gusty winds. Fire danger is all too real, especially as we head into tomorrow. And also, again, those winds will really pick up, especially in the higher elevations of Culberson and Eddy County. 8 p.m. local time, a high wind watch is in effect. Winds gusting over 70 miles per hour there. So yeah, it's going to be a very windy day, especially as we head into tomorrow. Started off at 44 degrees this morning. It's warming up into the 60s and 70s as we head throughout the afternoon. The last time we hit 84 degrees or warmer was on the day after Christmas Day. 84 degrees today. So yeah, it's a very warm day here in the basin, feeling a little bit more like spring, and we're just under a week away from spring itself. So that's something that we should be expecting for this time of year. More clouds in the increase. We did notice that moving into the basin, but certainly no greens on this map. But look on the top part of the screen. You have some snow. That's indicative of colder air in the Rocky Mountains. Eventually may spill its way here in the basin. Not snow, but colder air. But before then, still mild weather. Overnight low at 50 degrees, 5 to 10 degrees above average with those winds from the south at 10 to 20 miles per hour, still advecting warmer air here in the basin. Speaking of the warmer air, temperatures in the 80s in many locations, fairly close to the lower 90s than Trans-Pecos and also the Big Bend area as well, upper 70s in the higher elevations. Cooling off in the 40s and 50s tonight before warming back up in southern and eastern areas for tomorrow, but cooler air in the northern and western areas, including the Davis Mountains and also Marfa and Alpine. Those areas will be cooler because they're higher up in elevation, and that cold front will be coming through there as high temperatures will be cooler later because of, again, those northwesterly winds picking up in intensity. So if you guys are going to be going for a walk or a run, watch out for that. Tracking those winds, they're going to be picking up from the south today, especially in the eastern basin, but that's just the beginning. Those winds really ramping up tomorrow from the northwest. Those reds indicate that winds gusting at 50 to 60 miles per hour in many locations. Speaking of that 7-day forecast, cooler air later in the day tomorrow, chilly air on Friday, especially as we had earlier in the day, but warming up in the 50s and 60s, and then 70s and 80s by the weekend.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, now to one of the biggest supermodels worldwide, Bella Hadid, opening up to Vogue about plastic surgery, mental health, and living in the shadow of her sister Gigi. ABC's Janae Norman has the details.
She's one of America's top supermodels, Bella Hadid. And this morning, she's opening up about living under the success of her older sister, Gigi Hadid. In an interview with Vogue, the 25-year-old says, "I was the uglier sister. I was the brunette. I wasn't as cool as Gigi, not as outgoing," adding, "I always ask myself, how did a girl with incredible insecurities, anxiety, depression, body image issues, eating issues, who hates to be touched, who has intense social anxiety, what was I doing getting into this business?"
One of the issues of the modeling industry is pushing this idea of conformity and idealized standards across the board. It's so healthy that now she and others are coming forward and saying, this image isn't really what's real. I'm human. I struggle as well.
The Hadid sisters have taken the fashion world by storm, becoming icons on the runway as they donned those famous Victoria's Secret wings and walked for some of the biggest designers together. Those moments, however, proving to be a challenge for Bella over the years, admitting, "I would go to work, cry at lunch in my little green room, finish my day, go to whatever random little hotel I was in for the night, cry again, wake up in the morning and do the same thing." The Vogue cover star also setting the record straight about plastic surgery, admitting she regrets going under the knife at just 14 years old. "I wish I'd kept the nose of my ancestors. I think I would have grown into it," adding, "I'm pretty sure you don't look the same now as you did at 13, right?"
During these vulnerable adolescent years, there are so many images that are coming into our lives, especially today with social media. And unfortunately, we don't really know, we haven't connected to the true self, to who we are. Then later on, as adults, we can reflect back and say, oh, I just had limited self-awareness and self-connection.
Despite struggling with anxiety and depression, Bella says she's now focused on her mental health. "Now, everything that I do in my personal life is literally to make sure that my mental state stays above water."
Also, to an update in the Bob Saget death case, the final police report detailing the last tragic moments of the beloved comedian's life. It was determined that Saget fractured his eye sockets as well as a fracture at the base of his skull and bleeding around the brain, likely caused by the 65-year-old falling. The medical examiner claims Saget would have likely shown confusion, balance, and/or slurred speech had he not been alone.
This is an ABC Big 2 breaking news alert.
And you are taking another live look at the scene that is just now pretty much beginning to be cleared up, if not already. We will continue to follow updates on this deadly crash. Stay here with us on ABC Big 2 News. And this is also some video from last night as well from the crash scene as shortly after it did happen. You can continue to stay with us to follow updates on the deadly crash here on ABC Big 2 News.
Food Truck Alley is the Permian Basin's first food truck park. Bring the family to enjoy food trucks from more than 10 different cuisines. Stop by our location in Midland. We're open every Thursday through Sunday. Food Truck Alley.
If surgery, injury, or chronic illness has affected you or a loved one, CCC is here to help by providing one-on-one medical care with a personal touch, offering wound care, physical therapy, family training, and much more in the comfort of your own home. Whatever you need and wherever you call home, let CCC get you on the path to recovery.
Buy the king-size mattress for the queen-size price. Everybody does that, right? At Bob Mills, you get the king-size mattress for the queen-size price, but I'll give you the Sleep Spa bonus. Like the beautiful king sheets and pillows. You're going to need all that for your new king-size bed. Here's the Somniva King mattress. Queen price, just $19.96. The sheets and pillows, free. That's the Sleep Spa bonus.
Bob Mills Sleep Spa.
TXU Energy has a new kind of energy plan. It's called Freedom Rewards, and it earns you 30% in free electricity for every dollar you spend on energy charges.
So I'm automatically rewarded just for doing what I normally do?
That's right. Just sit back and watch your energy cash continue to grow.
Almost like an energy savings account that grows over time.
Exactly. Use it anytime you'd like, or keep watching it grow.
That is a big deal.
TXU Energy. Easy to choose, easy to use.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard led to a lot of firsts for me. It helped pay for me to be the first person in my family to graduate debt-free, buy my first home, and I'm one of the first to respond if my community ever needs me. To learn more, visit nationalguard.com.
Suffering with chronic pain? Told a costly surgery with weeks of downtime is your only option? Integrated Pain Associates is your source for pain relief and now serving the Permian Basin. The physicians at IPA believe you shouldn't suffer in pain. They've provided thousands of patients long-lasting solutions with the use of state-of-the-art, minimally invasive technology to restore function and mobility. Schedule your free MRI review today. Your journey to a pain-free life starts at IPA. Real steel. Find yours at steeldealers.com.
Well, Texas energy industry added more jobs last month, and Texas continues to dominate artificial intelligence jobs. Jane King is at the NASDAQ with those stories and more in today's Texas Business Report.
Hello, Texas. When it comes to plentiful jobs in artificial intelligence and machine learning, the largest states continue to dominate. That's according to CompTIA's latest tech jobs report. So Texas, along with California, had thousands of open AI jobs in February. Well, ExxonMobil lost its appeal to stop climate change probes. The federal appeals court on Tuesday rejected ExxonMobil's effort to stop Massachusetts and New York from probing whether the oil company lied to investors and the public regarding what it knew about climate change. Texas's upstream oil and gas employment reached 176,000 in January, representing a month-over-month increase of 1,200 jobs and a 16,000 job gain year over year. That's according to the Texas Independent Producers and Royalty Owners Association. And a record number of U.S. homes are worth at least $1 million. Austin has the most in Texas, with more than 12% of the homes there crossing that mark. From the NASDAQ market site, I'm Jane King with your Texas Business Report.
This is an ABC Big 2 breaking news alert.
We're continuing to following breaking news. A deadly crash in Andrews where DPS says 6 students and a coach were killed. The crash happened last night on FM 1788 and Highway 115. This is video from overnight. We've had several crews out here working the scene. Stay with ABC Big 2 News for the very latest. We'll have another update coming up, as well as another check of the forecast.
Thank you, Permian Basin, for nominating the remarkable women in your life.
Now stay tuned, as 4 of these inspirational stories are being featured on ABC Big 2 every Tuesday this month.
ABC Big 2, recognizing remarkable women.
Each year, Augusta, Georgia hosts the world's premier golf event. Join us for a special look at this year's tournament with Tea Time Augusta.
Saturday, April 2nd at 12:30 p.m. on ABC Big 2.
I was driving through that intersection and a car ran a red light and hit me.
I'm attorney Ted Line. If you got injured in a wreck, we can help.
Hurt in a car wreck and need money? Call Long Car Lion Jenkins, the strong arm.
I was hurt bad and the insurance company was trying to lowball me.
Let us deal with the insurance company so you don't have to.
Long Car Lion Jenkins fought for me and got me over $200,000.
Call the strong arm. We'll fight to get you the money you deserve.
800, then all sevens.
Professionally trained account executives help businesses get results through advertising. We are a results-driven team. Our ABC Big 2 account executives love helping your business tell your story to over 500,000 people in West Texas. We want to be your marketing partner. We're on fire about growing your business.
You test positive for the COVID-19 virus or have had direct exposure. Now what? At ProSource Hydration, our COVID cocktail, filled with high levels of vitamin C and zinc, attacks the COVID virus, helping the body prevent the replication of the virus, reducing symptoms, and helping them dissipate faster. It can even help prevent the virus from forming after exposure. Best results seen within 4 days of symptoms. Call ProSource today to schedule your COVID cocktail.
This is an ABC Big 2 breaking news alert.
We are continuing to follow breaking news. A deadly crash in Andrews where DPS says 6 students and a coach were killed. This crash happened last night on FM 1788 and Highway 115. This is video from overnight. We've had several crews out here working on the scene, so stay with ABC Big 2 News for the very latest. We'll have another update coming up at 5. Now Ryan joins us live with another look at our forecast.
It's a chilly morning, but temperatures warming up already in the 60s and 70s in many locations, warming up in the mid to upper 80s, 84 degrees in the Midland and Odessa, overnight lows in the 40s and 50s, blowing dust tomorrow while temperatures will be in the lower 70s early in the afternoon, dropping throughout the afternoon, 20s and 30s overnight tomorrow night, 50s and 60s on Friday, 70s on Sunday. So a temperature roller coaster continues.
All right, thanks, Ryan, and thanks everyone for joining us this morning. Have a great day, and everyone, please stay safe.
When you need electrical